So there's a bit of news coming out of this. Senator Patrick Leahy wrote a memoir, and there's a story in it about the Iraq War that's got everybody. So in his new memoir, there's a wild story in it that I haven't ever seen before. It's a rare glimpse into the shadowy way that the intelligence agencies interact with members of Congress. It feels ripped from a political thriller movie. Yeah, it's just like a political thriller movie, except at the end, nothing happens and nothing is resolved. But here we go. So the story is, in the middle of the Iraq War debate, Senator Leahy's out, and he'd been reading the classified intelligence that the Bush administration was providing to Congress and had real doubts about the justified war. The Sunday after he read the intelligence report, he was out walking with his wife in the McLean neighborhood when two fit joggers behind us, they stopped and asked us what I thought of the intelligence briefings I'd been getting. It's kind of scary. The joggers asked Leahy if the briefers had showed him File 8. Now, that's not the real name of the file. That's a pseudonym he's using because it's classified, so he just says File 8. It was obvious from the look on my face that I had not seen such a file. They suggested I should and that I might find it interesting. Leahy went back to the intelligence officers at the Capitol and requested File 8. And it did contradict what the Bush administration was saying publicly about the WMDs. A few days later, Leahy and his wife were out walking in the neighborhood again, and the same two friggin' joggers stopped by and said, "We heard you read File 8. Isn't that interesting? Now ask for File 12. Whoa. So he goes back, asks for File 12, and the next day, he goes to the Capitol and he asks for File 12. It contradicts what Dick Cheney was saying publicly, and he decided to vote against the war based on these secret reports and tips. Then this guy asked Senator Leahy about this incident when I interviewed him earlier this month if he knew the joggers ever, and he said, "You don't understand. I didn't want to know who they were."
Well, I'd like to know. They belong in jail.
Leahy ends up voting against the war because some corner of the intelligence world tracked when he was out exercising, intercepted him, and pointed him to secret intelligence reports. Wow. So he gets all that secret info from those secret agents. Then he votes no on the war, and there's a war anyway, and he says nothing for 20 fucking years. The end.
Is it thrilling?
Did they even bother testing that ending with audiences? That's how you end it? There's no focus group on that story?
So I voted no and covered my ass historically, and that's what you read in this book.
So you didn't come out and tell people about this story?
By the way,
no.
Two heroic secret agents tried to do something?
Right? One question I have after this story, I assume Leahy wasn't the only targeted senator. Might be worth asking other senators who voted against the war, did they get visits from similar joggers? So it sounds like people inside the CIA who had a conscience. I didn't know that existed. I don't know. So maybe they weren't inside the CIA. Who knows who those guys were?
Yeah.
We don't know who those guys were.
What if it turns out to be Jeffrey Epstein? Wouldn't that be crazy?
Maybe it was Jeffrey Epstein. Friend of the show and man who cuts his own hair, Ryan Grimm, had a good point. He says, this is nice, but we learn about it in a memoir 2 decades and hundreds of thousands of dead later.
It's millions.
There's an obligation to the public to make this stuff public when it matters.
Good point.
Isn't there an obligation, Ryan Grimm, for you to actually do a fucking story about the gas attacks in Duma? Isn't there really an obligation for you to do a story on fucking Russiagate and debunk it? Isn't there an obligation for you to ever once challenge your billionaire owner at The Intercept that you never fucking will, but you want somebody else to do something? Hey, why don't you fucking look in the mirror and do some fucking journalism? Why don't you do that?
I would love
Why don't you go against your billionaire owner for once and show you have balls? But you don't have balls, and neither do the people who you surround yourself with, which is why a pothead comedian like me can fucking destroy you on the regular.
I would love to be say, hey, leave Ryan Grimm's hair alone. He's too busy doing great journalism to get a haircut. And I'd be proud of his hair.
And by the way, you still bore the cock right off me, even though you got fired from a bill. He used to get 3 checks from billionaires. Now he just gets 2 billionaire checks.
Oh, is he okay?
I don't hope he's okay.
Well, that's not going to help his hair.
I hope he's okay. Also, the real question is how many senators got similar visits and voted for the war anyway? That is the question. And by the way, not to say he's not making good point. He is making good point there. Yeah. But it's also exposes him for being the piece of shit that
Hey, why don't you talk about the current conflict?
Oh, what do you have?
Hey, look who else is 20 years later.
What's going on in Ukraine? Oh, how poorly is the Intercept covering Ukraine? I wonder. I'll look in. You know what? Let's look into that because it'll be fun. It'll be a nice piece to make fun of them. Senator roll call, Iraq resolution. So here, let's look at the people who voted no. No, Barbara Boxer, she voted no. Bob Graham, he voted no. Daniel Akaka from Hawaii, he voted no. Richard Durbin, he voted no.
Dick Durbin.
Barbara Mikulski, she voted no. Edward Kennedy, Debbie Stabenow, Mark Day. There are way more people voted no than I thought.
Yeah, I know. I'm shocked by that.
But this a yes vote voted to grant President Bush the power to attack Iraq unilaterally. Oh, wow.
So wait, did the last tweet that you showed say how many voted yes anyway after the jogger message?
Well, no, it was how many voted yes or no. It's no. That's right.
Right,
voted for.
Yeah,
so
that's
we
a
don't
good
know.
question.
I wonder if each one of these people got a visit and still voted for it. That's the question, right?
You think Zell Miller? I'm over Zell Miller.
Here's more. Let's see. And he knows. Oh, no, Don Nichols, right? Which is the Don Rickles' cousin. Ron Wyden. That's not his cousin. Ron Wyden. Arlen Specter voted yes. Jack Reed voted no. Let's see who else. Patrick Leahy. Oh, that's the guy who we're doing this story about. But then he kept it to himself. Isn't that nice?
He was discreet.
And then Patty Murray voted no.
Robert Byrd, no.
Robert Byrd.
Former Klansman. Turned anti-war.
Wow, look at that. James Jeffords voted no. Lincoln Chafee voted no. And Kent Conrad voted no. Oh, Jeff Bingaman. And Russell Feingold. Oh, Russ Feingold, sure.
Well, when are their books coming out to give us some more light on this?
Isn't that funny? We're the only... So I don't know. I wonder how many people got it. Got the visit from the in-shape joggers. Whenever I hear people like that mentioned, some in-shape joggers, I was like, was that Jackson Hinkle and his brother?
Well, also, like, did they really stick out? Because usually they're not in shape. Why?
Right?
Like...
People who are jogging are usually in shape, right?
These two fat agents, I didn't know why they were jogging because they look...
They were sweating, couldn't catch their breath. Their tits kept hitting themselves in the face.
There you go. Have you seen Filey?
File. You got to check out File.
Then they asked me for a light.
Hey, we're going to see you in Miami, West Palm Beach, Denver, Palm Springs, Austin, Burbank. That's right. The Saturday after Thanksgiving here in Burbank, and lots of dates in Los Angeles in December. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all our tickets and join our premium program when you go there too.